I work for a call center, though this doesn't really take place on the phone, so I'm not sure it belongs in Tales from Call Centers, but it definitely fits here. I started working for this company late last year. After a very anxious job search, my previous employer got screwed by the company who contracted us, and we were given 2 weeks before my job disappeared. During those 2 weeks, my hours have been cut in half, and had I not found this job when I did, I would have been forced to rehome my cat and move in with my boyfriend, his dad, who is allergic to cats, and his dad's girlfriend, who made my evil ex-stepmother look tame. The latter two are both heavy smokers, to which I am sensitive, so this job was truly a godsend. Unfortunately, as I do not have a car, I had to pay for Lyft to get to and from work, which cost way too much money. I was very fortunate to find a friend during this training who was willing to give me rides home for only $5 a trip. After mentioning this to one of my drivers, they offered to drive me to work for the same amount. Enter the Neckbeard, which I'll be shortening to NB. During my second week of training, I was talking to one of my friends from my class, and NB overheard my mention of my ride situation. NB: "Hey, if you need a ride home, I could take you." Me: "Really? Thanks. Mind if we stop by the store so I can get a little more cash? I can give you $5 then." NB: "I'll take you, but don't worry about paying me. I'll drive you for free." Me: "Oh, wow, thank you. That'll be a huge help with how much it's been costing me." I will not lie, I was really hoping I would find someone I could carpool with, and it seemed my prayers had been answered. Good Lord, was I wrong. Well, things did go fine for the first few days. I found out just what kind of guy he is that Friday. I had pre-ordered a Nintendo Switch Lite several months ago. Non-refundable. I tried, and asked NB if we could stop by a game store to pick it up. He said yes, and while I cannot quite remember the entire conversation, I will never forget what he said about transgender people. Warning: the next few sentences contain phrases which are very offensive to LGBTQ communities. Such phrases are his words, not mine, and I do not agree with anything he said. NB: "These people who say they're one gender but are actually another are just sinners." Me: "You know, those people don't choose to be that way. If they had the choice, it would be to feel comfortable in their own skin." NB: "Nonsense. If you're born with a dick, then you're a man. They are ungodly and they are going to hell." Me: "The Bible clearly states that it is not our place to judge others on that. It also says that God wants us to choose to follow him, not force our beliefs onto others." NB: "The Bible clearly states that they are sinners and that God hates them." I stopped talking to him after that. I hate when ignorant, entitled Christians pick and choose which parts of the Bible they want to follow to fit their own prejudices. I am a Christian as well, but I live by God's commandments, not the words written by imperfect people who are just as capable of being swayed by the devil as anyone else. God's message is one of love, and as such I refuse to allow hatred into my life. I do not even wish for Trump to be harmed. Impeached, yes, but I'll never wish him to be killed. If God does not make mistakes, then it is not entirely possible that he made these people this way on purpose too. He tests us every day, after all. My best friend is also gay, and he is the sweetest of cinnamon rolls. I love him like a little brother, and you do not want to see me when I'm protecting someone I care about. If you are transphobic because of your religion, chances are that you're homophobic as well. I refuse to believe that someone like him, who would not even hurt a fly, will go anywhere other than heaven. I was so disgusted that I stopped talking to him completely at work. I did tell him that I was not going to talk to him anymore, but the only reason I gave him was that we had different morals, but not before another incident where he really pissed me off. I had made another friend who was able to give me free rides to work, but since he got there several hours before me, I had about 2 hours to kill in the break room before clocking in. I brought my new Switch Lite and was playing Pokken Tournament. while waiting for the time. That was when he came in, and just did not care that I had headphones on. He kept talking and talking and talking, and just did not get the hint. I was glad that I could use my game as an excuse and turn the volume all the way up so I could pretend I could not hear him, and was too focused on not dying. He eventually walked away in a huff, and afterwards I got advice on what to tell him. Oh boy, he did not like that. Now, I'm a friendly person, so if I see someone walk into the room, I will instinctively smile at them. If it was him, I dropped my smile and looked away. MB. Oh, are you finally going to talk to me today? I ignored him. I found out one of my co-workers was a staff member at our local anime convention, and since we were already friends, we started hanging out in the break room. It did not hurt that she also got rides from the same person, though our schedules were different. She told me that MB was a jerk to other people as well, and found out that he was also a misogynist. He would say gross things about women in the break room, but in such a way that you had to be paying attention to know just how gross they were. There was one girl who left our department because MB kept going over to her and giving her unsolicited hugs from behind. She already did not like being touched, especially without consent, but what made it worse was that he would place his hands on her boobs when doing so. He had, of course, been reported, but since he brought in a lot of sales, there was nothing they wanted to do about it. I also heard from my friend that MB had been bragging about how he had essentially been committing fraud to get his numbers up. Basically, we make reservations in our department, and if someone needs more than 7, then you are supposed to transfer them to group sales. His way around this was to make 7 reservations for them and then transfer them. This was a secret to no one, but I guess our team leads could not do anything since they had not found any evidence to prove it yet. I eventually switched from sales to complaints, and I was glad that my new schedule did not coincide with his as much anymore. Unfortunately, I still had to see him, and he was still making those passive-aggressive remarks about how I used to talk to him. One day, I was talking to a work friend at lunch, and MB inserted himself into our conversation. I tried to ignore him, but he kept butting in. I eventually walked away, and I heard him tell her, "Yeah, she doesn't talk to me." I don't know what he said after that, but I was livid. I never gossiped about him with anyone who did not already know what he was like. Even then, we never said his name, but people would be able to guess who he was right away. That said, there were still some people who did not know what he was like, so for him to go around telling people, that just makes me look like the bad guy. I finally had enough and told him exactly why I did not talk to him. He, of course, retaliated by repeating all the transphobic nonsense from before, and I reported him. I could not report him before because he said those things off property, but this was the break room. Prejudice on work property was strictly forbidden, so I had the right to do so. A few days later, he was seen being walked out by the building by security. Apparently, they finally found a call that proved he was committing fraud. But I cannot help the sneaky suspicion that I helped at least a little. Update. After posting this, I heard from one of my coworkers that MB had threatened HR when asked about my report. So yes, my case had in fact been the straw that broke the camel's back, and him threatening HR with violence only added on to the already dead camel.